we returned to Australia, stopping at Vanuatu and New Caledonia, then visiting the Chesterfield Reefs in the middle of the Coral Sea, finally clearing in through customs at Mackay, North Queensland. From when we first arrived in Fiji, we realised we were back in tourist land. In the remote Yasawas, we dived through a tunnel into the Sawarailau caves. But tourism followed us even in the Yasawas. With visiting family, we enjoyed time at various resorts and watched their shows, sailed around to Suva and anchored at the Royal Suva Yacht Club, watched the firewalkers prime themselves with kava before walking on the hot rocks. Returning to Nandi, we said goodbye to family. In Lautoka, we watched a Fijian Indian dance show before going to clear customs out of Fiji. After clearing customs, we anchored again at Malolo Lailai. It had become our favourite place in Fiji to prepare for our sail to New Caledonia. It must have been a favourite for Aussie Dick Smith too, because, well after our visit, he built Dick's Place, the Musket Cove Island Resort Complex as seen here. On our way to New Caledonia, a southwest change headwind came in, so we headed into Aneityum to wait out the adverse front, to Anelgohat village on Aneityum Island. Anelgohat village and Aneityum airport on Mystery Island, in Yerg. A lot of building work happening. "50 years later, cruise ships call at Mystery Island, the only airport for Aneityum and a coral diving spot for cruise liners. From Aneityum to Ile Marais. It was quite hard to find an anchorage on the very steep to coast, but I found a rocky outcrop which gave enough protection for a reasonable but deep anchorage. We found we were not far from the village Padawa. So we introduced ourselves to the gendarme, or policier, to avoid any problem. From Ile Marais, a sail to the south end of New Caledonia. After a 2 a.m. start for a long day sail, we entered the first anchorage at Port Boys, our introduction to the iron and nickel-rich Red Mountains of New Caledonia. We had to wait until Monday to see customs, so we explored Bay de Prony before continuing on to Noumea. The huge nickel mine is new after we were there 50 years ago. From Bay de Prony to Noumea to clear customs, into Port Plaisance and the Cercle Nautique Caledonian, where we were given free visitor berths for 2 weeks. And customs came down to the yacht club to clear us in. Then off to explore, and the French culinary delights abounded. Then the cultural experience. couple of blokes were attracted to our yacht in the marina by our large Aussie flag. They were officers from 2 Aussie Navy minesweepers that were visiting. They invited us aboard for a party they were having. They said, "Come around and tie up alongside." One of the naval officers, Jack Wilson, was a mine-clearing diving officer who had never dived in clear water or in coral waters. We reciprocated by inviting them to come out for an overnight diving trip to a small coral island, Ilot Signal, in the big New Caledonia Western Lagoon. Jack and I were using my hookah gear and posing for a few camera shots. After the photo play, I added my 50-meter hose to Jack's. He explored coral and fish for an hour, mainly just sitting on the bottom and watching the fish. The anchor was holding okay. Many sea snakes ashore to shed their skin. We were ashore for a beautiful sunset. Having cleared customs on the Friday before the party, it was time to move on. So we spent a few days sailing from Noumea to the northwest end of New Caledonia. Noumea to Ilhugan, as usual in protected lagoon waters with coral outcrops. It was strictly daytime navigation. I'm in the dinghy trying to keep up. Next day, we reached the end of the lagoon waters. We continued up the coast in the open ocean for a segment. As we approached Issy Pass, we could see an unusual object. Which resolved itself into a grounded freighter. It had missed the pass by just a few hundred meters. After a few day sails, we entered the northern lagoon area. We sailed up the northern lagoon to Tanla Island, our last anchorage in New Caledonia, before heading off across the Coral Sea to Australia, into the sheltered harbour and Tanla Island. Anchored near an elderly Frenchman's house. He kindly let us fill our water tanks from his well. After a pleasant stay, it was time to head off across the Coral Sea. From New Caledonia, it was across to the Chesterfield Reefs, where we stayed for several days. Then across and south of the Great Barrier Reef, and into Mackay to clear customs. A 600 kilometres trip to coral cays with low vegetation, only visible from about 15 kilometres. Accurate celestial navigation was required using stars and planets. No GPS in those days. A couple of the 5 starsite calculations early in the last night. Then Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn later in the night, when they were higher in the sky. Late that night I hove to, when I thought we were about 10 nautical miles from the reef. When I climbed the mast next morning, I could see the islands. Into a calm and secure anchorage. Going ashore, we found the islands were covered with nesting birds of many species. So, out came the camera. the chick's way of avoiding the afternoon sun. Leaving Chesterfields, we headed for Australia, staying well north of Cairn Reef halfway. I was going to visit Cairn until we heard of a cyclone forming near PNG. First it was 10 kilometres across the lagoon to an exit channel, then off for Australia. As we approached Queensland, I found the south-setting current east of the Great Barrier Reef had set us well south of the Swains Reefs. When I identified Northwest Island, I set a course for Port Clinton, our first sighting of Australia in 15 months. After 6 days, we were finally anchored back in Aussie. We slept soundly. Port Clinton is in an occasional defence training area, so very isolated. From Port Clinton, we overnighted at Middle Percy Island. 3 years after our first visit in 1974. The yacht memorabilia from 1974 kept growing. Nowadays a large A-frame is filled, recent photo. Then into Mackay to clear customs and quarantine. After waiting on board for a day, we eventually had to walk into Mackay to chase them up for some action. And so ended our odyssey around the Southwest Pacific, arriving in Mackay the 15th of November 1977. We ambled back to Townsville and normal life.